Now, you may or may not know this, but
Turn this person down. Say, don't listen to him. He's a nonce.
What do you think that will look like?
So, it has been 6 years since the last time I covered Crash Bash on the channel. And the one thing that absolutely boggles me is that I had the audacity to give this game a 6 out of 10. Yeah, in case you didn't watch the last few episodes, those were very dark times.
So I think now is a great time to do yet another revisit, but this one has been a long time coming, like the last ones. Also, my opinion has changed, hence why I wanted to return to it. Because this game, for as fun as it is as a multiplayer game, is a mediocre, headache-inducing clusterfuck.
The story sees Aku Aku and Uka Uka arguing like an old married couple, and Uka Uka wants to start fighting, but Aku Aku shoves him off and tells them that they can't because
The ancients would not allow it.
even though they were fighting back in Warp, so what the fuck gives? Also, who the fuck are the ancients?
Well, I don't know who they are. Nor do I care.
Anyway, Crash and friends are then forced into a series of games that will answer the question of who is better. Not even getting into the game, and already nothing here makes sense. Why the hell are Tiny and Dingodile good guys? Why doesn't Brio join us? He was an anti-hero in Crash 2, so why not make him a good guy? And who the fuck is this? Why Gorilla Monkey Anus Face over... oh, I don't know. Entropy? Oh, whatever. It doesn't make sense, but this whole thing doesn't make any fucking sense, so let's just begin. Okay, let's begin a new save file. What should my name be? Amiyumi. Because that's what this game's mediocrity is reminding me of. And if you're reminding me of that, you're fucked. So the first warp room contains 4-way pawn, last man standing, pogos, and combat. The second warp room contains 4-way pawn, last man standing, pogos, combat, and tanks. The third warp room contains 4-way pawn, last man standing, pogos, combat, tanks, and racing. The fourth warp...
I think you get the idea.
Now let me tell you the one major problem with this game that just boils my demented teapot. This game's adventure mode is way too repetitive. For starters, the trophy challenge requires one of you to win the minigame 3 times, which then gets even more repetitive if you lose a round.
I didn't even know you could do that in this minigame.
The other challenges are for crystals, gems, and relics. The gem challenge has you win the minigame with either fewer hits or a shorter time limit. The crystal challenge has you win the minigame with the AI having an unfair handicap. Then we have the relic challenges, where you win the minigame 2 or 3 times in a row against really fucking difficult AI. Speaking of which, get ready, because the third warp room kicks that shit into high gear. And it's only gonna get harder from here. If there's one thing I could change here, it would be to have the trophy challenge only require you to win the minigame once. And regarding the relics, how about instead of winning the rounds in a row, just win 2 rounds or 3 rounds, because the AI in these is so fucking brutal. Anyway, let's briefly touch on the bosses. They are Papu Papu, the Polar Boss, the Komodo Brothers, and Nitrous Oxide. My god, Oxide is a pain in the fucking cock. You will not beat him on your first attempt.
So that's about it for this game's adventure mode, but if you don't mind, I'm gonna start doing some bitching.
Why are trophies the main collectibles when Aku Aku tells us we need to protect the crystals we won? Why does Papu Papu not give me the satisfaction of finishing him off and just take his life by crushing himself? Why does this game suddenly become fucking impossible in the third warp room? Why do I need a friend in order to make any progress? Furthermore, what if my friend blows chunks? Who the fuck believed a 5-year-old would be able to do any of this? This is fucking ridiculous!
Want to know how inexplicably difficult this game is? One time back in 2016, I attempted to get the crystal from N-Ballism. I spent a total of 4 hours, non-stop, and I still wasn't able to win. Now, I'm not that great at this game, but I shouldn't have to be a fucking expert esports veteran in order to beat the fucking thing. And it sucks too because you need to go through this adventure mode in order to unlock all the minigames. Otherwise you have only 4 minigames with 4 different skins. And that's it. And there's no way to cheat unless you live in Europe and you have a first edition of this game, which is the non-platinum version. However, we do have something called memory manipulation.
By going to the save screen, highlighting the letter V, and pressing down and left at the same time, you can force the cursor to go out of bounds. Then, by entering a specific sequence of directions on the D-pad, you can break this game in half. However, this also has its hindrances, like right here. The timer jumps from 1 minute to 5 seconds. Just when I was about to finally get this gold relic,
You fail.
Coco tied me at the very last fucking second. Here you can see this shit in action, and it allows you to beat Oxide within 57 minutes. Fucking wow. All of these setbacks make this game so goddamn mediocre to the point where I just cannot recommend it. If you want to kill some time with your friends, the game is kind of fun, but there's really not a lot here to keep everybody engaged, and the graphics in this game are a far cry from its predecessors. I get that this game was developed by Eurocom, but that's still no excuse. So with all of this tedious and repetitive madness, I have no choice but to give Crash Bash a 4 out of 10. I don't say 3 because the game isn't entirely bad, but the adventure mode does not do it any favors.
Okay, so if there's anybody out there who has the Black Label PAL version, there is a more straightforward cheat code you can enter in the main menu, which is something us NTSC users don't have access to. Unless we have Spyro 3.
Yes, in Spyro 3 you can hold L1 and R2 and then press square to access the hidden Crash Bash demo. Then inputting the cheat code will unlock the debug menu, granting you access to practically the entire game. You are missing Oxide Ride and the last Warp Rooms minigames, but you have everything else, including the boss fight against Homer and Bart Simpson. The cheat code was discovered 9 years after the game's release by Crashmania users LX Shadow and Hack. So imagine how much of an impact this would have had on the game's sales if it was discovered back in 2000 instead.
What a lot of people don't know is that there's an older demo of this game that also has this cheat menu. It is on certain demo discs, and it requires a Game Shark and some codes in order to access it.
If you entered this code into your Game Shark, switch to a demo disc that contains Crash Bash. Select the demo, then when it loads, simply enter the code again, and voila! This grants you access to every, and I mean every minigame, in all of their unfinished glory. You get to see Cortex's billboard in Space Bash, fight the polar boss at Oil Ocean, find out that Oxide Ride was originally going to be a 2-parter, play a completely different K-Kaboom, and find out that Engine Ship was originally piss-colored.
While we're on the topic, can I briefly talk about how much I love the music on this demo disc? Also, the fact that I find this more entertaining than the final product says a lot about the quality of this game, doesn't it?
This shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody, but I really do not want to see this game get remade. It does not deserve it. Let this shit die with whatever dignity it has left.
In conclusion, Crash Bash is one of the most mediocre games I've ever played, and it's also one of the hardest games I've ever played. And that's never a good combination. Do I still come back to this game every so often? Of course, because I like going in and playing Space Bash with Brio. However, if you don't have friends to play this game with, don't even bother. I would play Mario Party instead. Anyway, we're now done with the Crash revisits, so I hope you enjoyed them all. If you did, hit that like button to leave a like, and be sure to share the videos around with your friends. Thank you for watching, and until next time, my name is JuniorNitro, fueling your adrenaline, one video at a time.